Hey folks, I'm Dutch Doll. I'm the host of the Dutch Doll Discussions. How you doing today, my family and my friends? I'm here with you now to speak on a new subject matter. Kind of like the old subject matter, kind of connected, but totally different subject altogether. Not really. I got good reviews from the Rikers Island Prison Review. Got 4 stars in my book. I hear the cuisine is excellent. Unfortunately, they had lost another prisoner last night, so I see some changes coming in there, even though it's going to take 10 years to shut down that island. And not only is the island being shut down, ladies and gentlemen, the prison barge is being shut down. A lot of you guys are like, that prison barge still exists? Yes, the prison barge still exists. It's still open, still operating. It is anchored in Hunts Point, the Bronx. Yes. Yes, it is. It's used as an intake and processing center now. The capacity is 870 inmates. It opened in 1992 and is still, to this day, run by the Department of Corrections. Now, in 1980, back during the Ed Koch years, we had an overflow of inmates at Rikers Island. There was not enough room for them there. So what we were doing, we were sending them out to the borough houses, and yeah, well, at that time, Rikers was one of the most violent jails. Remember the difference. There's a difference from yesterday's video. There's a jail and a prison. A jail will facilitate you for 364 days. Anything 365 days and above, you go to state prison. The state takes you into their care, and that's where you are. New York State has many prisons. You just wind up in a upstate town surrounded by trees and barbed wire fences. Which at some of these instances at this prison, I'd rather have been at the jail. I'd rather have been in prison. But with the forward thinking of Ed Koch, we had to take control of this population issue at Rikers. And he did not want to. He wanted to use a reusable maritime cell system. Prison ships, boats, barges had been used in New York before. Matter of fact, they were used during the Revolutionary War. Yeah, they were used during the Civil War. During the Revolutionary War, there was an actual prison ship parked in New York Harbor. You know that for a fact. They wanted to avoid the cost of building new prisons, new jails. I keep saying prison. It's going to go back and forth with me. New jails. Without taking up valuable New York property real estate. Because nothing says money like real estate in New York. At the time, Rikers had 22,000 prisoners, and the population was still growing. It was skyrocketing up. So they needed to fix most Ricky Tick, something that was humane. And in 1988, 2 British troop carriers were bought and converted into prison ships. They were the BB Venture, B-I-B-B-Y, BB Venture, and the BB Resolution, both sister ships. They were converted into these jail ships from being troop carriers. The Venture was docked and anchored at Manhattan by Greenwich Village. The Resolution was anchored at the Lower East Side. Now the boats were taken into custody in 1988 by the Department of Corrections. So building the Department of Corrections Navy that they had, which we make fun of it, next to the NYPD Harbor Unit, or the FDNY Water Unit, or the Coast Guard, being the coasties that they are, guarding our coastways and shipping lanes and whatnot, and doing a pretty goddamn good job about it. But the ships were only used for a short amount of time. In 1992, both sister ships were decommissioned. and Department of Corrections lost them in their fleet. What was left in the fleet was 2 converted Staten Island ferries. Yes. Both of them docked at Rikers Island, being used at makeshift prisons. What they had in mind was a prison barge, self-contained, with a dock leading out to it. And it'd be anchored to one of the boroughs. It wouldn't be anchored to Rikers Island itself. But listen, it's still part of Rikers Island. It's still part of the prison system. Little side note, a little piece of trivia for you. All the cell systems in New York City are covered by Department of Corrections. That's right. Even the cells in a precinct don't belong to the NYPD. The cells in a precinct belong to the Department of Corrections. The cells in Central Booking, Central Booking is run by NYPD, but we turn our prisoners over to custody of them to Department of Corrections at the end of the Central Booking process. So just a little bit of trivia for you. The prison is named after the warden Vernon Bain, who was killed in a car accident, and the prison barge began construction in 1989, way before, well, not way before, but before the 2 British troop carriers were taken out of service. It was constructed at the Avon shipyard. It was the first of its kind, like built from the basement up, well, from the waterline up as a prison barge. There were mistakes made in the design. It was. The cost of the ship was $125.7 million. $35 million over budget. Yeah. It was completed in 1990 and was not used till 1992. It ran 18 months late on construction. A lot of controversy went on with this. The people weren't sure how they were going to use it. The inmates were revolting against it. City council didn't know what to think of it, so they right away tried to push it off the agenda. But in 1992, a little tugboat came off of Long Island Sound, pushing the Warden Vernon Bain correctional barge. Yes. So it came around Long Island Sound, right up into the Hudson. Right to the Bronx, where it was anchored, and it still remains there to this day. In the closing of Rikers Island, the prison barge will be going out with it. Yeah. It was the last of it. It was the first of its kind, and also it was the last of its kind. They will not do this again. It was closed in 1995 to the decrease of inmates being brought in, and it was reopened in 1998, the year I came on the job. Guess they were expecting big things from me. Who knows? For a while, baby bookings, Spofford, was being redone. They were renovating baby bookings. So the Department of Corrections loaned the warden Vernon Bain over to the juvenile justice system, where they used it for intakes, holding cells. Well, yeah. Well, they made it for child friendly as much as they possibly could. The target date for the phasing out of the barge and the island is 2026/2027. Give or take a year, someday within there. It was so much considered a ship that the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, said it had to be manned by 3 maritime crew at all times. 365. As long as prisoners was in there, they need maritime crew there too. Which makes me laugh because one of the first captains of the barge, because they needed a captain, was the guy who actually brought it around in the tugboat. Kind of outstanding. Yeah, It's staffed by 317 staff members, guards. It takes $24 million to operate a year. Yeah. Then the Coast Guard gave up on it and said, you know what? It's not a jail. I mean, it's not a boat. It's a jail. So you can take off the 3 maritime crew. So the Department of Correction did not have to keep a staff of maritime crew. They probably transferred those guys over to the Rikers water unit for prisoners going into the water trying to escape and whatnot. Speaking about escapes. Oh, by the way, in the year 2000, Juvenile just moved back to Spofford, and that's where they're based now. Now, I've been to the Spofford facility since they renovated it. It's beautiful. Well, beautiful as a turnkey kind of way. It's very secure. I mean, if you're getting out of there, you're Steve McQueen in the fucking Great Escape, I tell you that. But since 1993, where the first escape was attempted from the barge, to 2021, there were 5 escape attempts. Now, personally, I like the -1 off this, being only 4 escape attempts, because one guy tried to escape before he got on the barge. Slipped his manacles and went onto and they caught him immediately. One guy went and escaped for 12 hours. One guy was picked up in the water. But all 5 inmates were picked up and returned back to the barge. And whatever happened that they used to escape was corrected immediately. One of the guys escaped by climbing over the fence because he had the inmate shoes on, and the prison guards couldn't climb up after him because he was on the basketball court, because the uniform boots that the Department of Corrections said they had to wear, they couldn't climb up after him. So what did they have? They had basketballs, and they threw basketballs at him. Yes, they threw basketballs at him. But he still dodged the basketball like average Joe in the movie Dodgeball, and he got over and he dove into the water, and he was quickly picked up by the water unit. Now, why do we need that much room in prison? Well, since last night, in the area of the Bronx, we had a shop clerk for a chicken joint slashed across the face, requiring 40 stitches. A New York City vagrant man was murdered in a Bronx basement. Oh, the chicken joint was in the Bronx too. Well, here's another reason. Well, they'll go to federal prison, these people. During the 2020 protests, a New York City police van was set on fire by a male and female. While cops were still in it, they took a plea to arson. But they was charged federally, so they're going to Club Fed. Well, what the city's about to go through, with the lack of policing and the lack of confidence and morale in the police department, brought on by our mayor, and his hard stance of how much he fucking hates us, like we're, bachelor stepchildren. Yeah. This city's going to have a reckoning real quick. Now, it seems my prospects are looking up, and much as I don't want to leave my city that I protected for 21 years, I'm going to have to. But I still got time. I'm here. I have an advantage. So, the war stories went over well. And now I'm going to tell war stories about myself fucking up when I was a rookie. Once when I was halfway through my career. And about 2 guys who got punished for no fucking reason, even though they corrected the problem immediately, most Ricky tick. So 2 cops I know from the 7-1 get stuck with a prisoner transport. Not even their prisoner. 9 times out of 10, if you made the call that you weren't transporting the guy down, it led into fucking hard feelings, cursing back and forth, and it was better to separate the officer from the perp and have somebody else do the transport. They put the guy in the car, but they had transported a cop back from the hospital from watching another prisoner, and they forgot to put the child safety locks back on the fucking door. Well, they get in their central booking. They go to open the door, and the perp had opened the door a split second before they got out of the car, and he took off running. And they took off after him. Ran about 3 blocks. Some idiot happened to be coming out of his house, and a civilian, so it's not an idiot, but, you know, the way timing went, I call him an idiot. Opened his door, and the perp ran in his house, and the cops gave foot. They were in hot pursuit. They took after him. They grabbed him. He got lumped up. He fought back with the police. Got his handcuffs in front of him. He fought back with the cops, and they went to take him into custody. Bring him back down to central booking, not thinking they'd have to report it because they have the prisoner. It's not an escaped prisoner. And the perp went downstairs to central booking and told everybody who wanted to listen, I got away. I'm an escaped prisoner. The cops called to the carpet on it, and they admitted it, and they got suspended for 30 days. 2 good cops. The guy just did it to fuck with them. He just wanted to fuck them over. Now, granted, we'd have guys escape from interview rooms, out the window, gone into the wind. The last 10, 15 years haven't been good for escaped prisoners. When I first came on the job 21 years ago, I was working in transit. My first night in the RMP, first night in the car. Not on foot patrol. I'm feeling all special, feeling all good about it, feeling a special kind of way about it. I'm transporting a prisoner back from an arrest scene to the district for processing, because we processed our own prisoners in District 32. So I put him in the car. I don't even roll a foot, and thank God I didn't roll a foot because I didn't set the child locks and he was out of the car. But he didn't get fully out of the car. He just fell out of the car. He didn't go anywhere. So I go to pick him up, and he starts screaming. I was driving with him, dragging him, and IAB came down, pulled the camera footage, and turns out I was right. He was wrong. My captain came down, and he's like, this guy's still scared. He's still wet behind the ears. He's scared to be on the job. And I was. So I was clear of that one. Years later, I hand my perp over to my partner. I was like, throw him back in the RMP. He's going to the precinct. He's done. And before my partner can get him into the RMP, the guy shooks away from him and starts running. So you have my short, chubby partner and me, tall and chubby, chasing him. And we caught him. We caught him and put hands on him, and he started fucking fighting. I got kicked in the face. As you can see, might have been an improvement. But now we got to walk this asshole back to the RMP. So my partner's like, he's not going to walk. I'm like, I know. What are we going to do? We had cuffs behind his back. I always carried a second pair of cuffs on me. My partner carried a second pair of cuffs on him. So we put the 2 cuffs together, cuffed the cuffs that were on his back, and cuffed him to a fucking pole. My partner stood with him. I walked back to the RMP. I got the car, and I pull up, and I've never seen, short of this guy chewing through his arm to get out of those cuffs. He was like a fucking dingo going at it, a coyote. I uncuffed him. I pulled the car onto the curb. We uncuffed the car, cuffed the gate. We spun him around. We cuffed him to the seatbelt because the seatbelt's not coming out of the car no matter what the fuck you do. So, and he fought us the whole way to get him in the car. So bad, my partner was pushing. I had to come through the passenger side door, reach into the back seat, grab the cuffs, and pull him in. And then we closed the door real quick. And then before we can get back in the car, he was trying to crawl into the front seat. Well, that ride back to the precinct was done with the utmost speed. Then he saw a lieutenant out there in uniform, and he's like, they transported me here without seatbelts on. I'm like, Lieutenant, with all due respect, we use the seatbelts. No, you didn't. I'm like, were you handcuffed to the seatbelts? Yeah. Like, we use the seatbelts. We got you here. You hear? No car. You run lights and sirens all the way here? We're allowed to. We were actually allowed to transport a prisoner from scene to house via lights and sirens. Now, from the house to central booking, it's with lights. And you can use the sirens when you needed them. But this guy was so all fucking kilted by us. I'm just glad that precinct transported him down as a courtesy to us. Again, to avoid us getting into a fight with him or us turning into a pissing match with him, which, you know what? You get a cop's goat, you get us pretty well. At that point, I was collecting my money. I made my overtime in the arrest. I know what the arrest was used for. It was all credit cards. Forged credit cards. He had like 50 on him. He tried to pay for the cab. It was a waved down complaint. 2 white guys in the Chargers driving around the ghetto. Pretty easy to figure us as cops. So that's what it came in. So that was my 2 personal halfway escapes. 2 cops getting suspended for 30 days. Good cops for a guy being a bucking dick and just trying to get the cops in trouble. There's no reason for us to go through all that. You're caught, be caught. Just be caught. Take your punishment like a man and go through. I mean, the judge. If you're going to get charged with escape 9 times out of 10, and you're going to wind up in ag seg in Rikers, where you're going to sell by yourself for anywhere from a week to 365 days, and that's what you got to go with. So, anyway, folks, those are my stories. That's my history lesson for today. You know more about the barge. The barge is still being used till the last day of prison. The last day the prison shuts down. I'm Dutch Doyle. These are my discussions. I hope you got a little enjoyment out of this. Well, congratulations for making it to the weekend, and I have an outro that was just supplied by my friend that I will be posting behind this. So, if you want merchandise, email me at the fucking email address, and we'll try to get some out to you as soon as possible. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your night, or day, or weekend, whatever it is for you. I want you to enjoy it no matter what. Bye.